The revolution of reciprocity, how Black women entrepreneurs are redefining success through collective power. Good morning, everyone. I stand before you today humbled and electrified after my recent conversation with Donay Stringfellow, a visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand entrepreneurship, success, and collective power. Donay isn't just a business leader, she's an architect of possibility who has dedicated her life to creating pathways that didn't exist before. Her revolutionary approach to mentorship and ecosystem building has touched thousands of lives, creating ripple effects that will be felt for generations to come. What she shared with me wasn't just insightful, it was paradigm shifting. We live in a culture obsessed with individual achievement. We celebrate the lone genius, the self made millionaire, the first through the door pioneer. Our social media feeds overflow with highlight reels of personal triumphs. Our business magazines profile solitary heroes who made it against all odds. And there's value in those stories. They inspire, they motivate, they show what's possible. But what if I told you that the most powerful transformation happening right now isn't about individual success stories at all? What if the real revolution is happening in the spaces between those success stories, in the connections, the networks, the ecosystems being built by those who understand that true power isn't hoarded but shared? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversation with Donay Stringfellow. While Black women entrepreneurs represent one of America's fastest growing business demographics, a fact many of you may already know, the headline we're missing is far more significant. These women aren't just building businesses, they're building entire ecosystems that enable collective advancement, resilience, and generational change. The narrative is shifting dramatically from breaking barriers to building bridges. And this shift changes everything about how we understand success. Let me share three key insights from my conversation with Donay that illuminate this transformation. First, the acceleration of Black women owned businesses isn't merely a testament to personal ambition or individual grit. It's proof that community focused strategies amplify success exponentially. By prioritizing ecosystem building over individual wins, these leaders are transforming industries from the inside out. They're creating sustainable infrastructures that benefit not just themselves, but everyone who follows. Second, despite controlling $3.9 trillion dollars in revenue and owning 35% of US employer firms, women, especially Black women, still face significant disparities in funding access. They receive approval for only 45% of requested loans compared to 55% for men. This persistent gap has made creative resourcefulness and network building not just helpful skills, but essential survival strategies. Third, representation matters in ways we're only beginning to understand. The visibility of successful Black female founders doesn't just inspire the next generation, it fundamentally changes what's possible. When diverse teams lead companies, especially those led by Black women, they foster innovation through varied perspectives and lived experiences that translate directly to market advantages. But these aren't just abstract concepts. Let me bring these principles to life with real stories that demonstrate their power. At the 2025 Women's Business Enterprise National Council Conference in New Orleans, a city that itself symbolizes resilience, something remarkable happened behind the official agenda. Black women entrepreneurs who had faced repeated rejections from traditional lenders didn't accept these barriers as immovable facts. Instead, they leveraged their collective presence to transform the landscape. Picture this: in hotel lobbies and between sessions, these women formed impromptu mastermind groups. They shared pitch decks, introduced each other to potential investors, and pooled resources to create micro investment funds. One participant told Donay, "I walked in with a business card, but I'm leaving with an entire financial network." The results speak volumes. From 2019 to 2023 alone, Black woman owned businesses increased average revenues by 32.7%, far outpacing overall market trends. But even more significantly, these entrepreneurs formed new venture funds, specifically targeting minority founders, and launched accelerator programs focused on scaling up established enterprises. One participant who had been rejected by 17 banks before the conference left with three solid funding options. Not because the banks suddenly changed their criteria, but because these women created alternative pathways to capital. They didn't just navigate the system, they built a new one. Consider another powerful example from Donay's research. In March 2025, global banking platform Gray awarded $9,500 equity free grants through its Upgrade Her initiative to four standout woman led startups, including Nigerian tech founder Adaeze Okafor. Adaeze faced formidable challenges, high barriers accessing international banking solutions, and difficulty scaling digital ventures across borders due to resource limitations. But what's fascinating isn't just how she overcame these obstacles, it's how she transformed the opportunity. She leveraged her grant not just as seed capital, but as strategic leverage when negotiating partnerships with fintech platforms abroad. More importantly, she joined a cohort based accelerator run by past Upgrade Her awardees who provided hands on mentorship on cross border expansion strategies. Within 6 months, Adaze launched her payment integration tool across 3 continents. The other three winners reported similar rapid scale ups enabled by both financial support and community driven knowledge sharing. Together, they formed a cross border advisory board comprised entirely of former program participants, creating a self sustaining ecosystem of support. What's particularly noteworthy is that many applicants, including a Daisy, had previously been excluded from mainstream VC networks because their business models didn't fit conventional profiles favored by Western investors. This initiative demonstrated that targeted microgrants combined with structured peer mentorship can have outsized impacts on global scalability among underrepresented founders. As Donay emphasized in our conversation, this represents a fundamental shift in how we think about success. It's not just about individual achievement, it's about creating systems that enable collective advancement. Let me share one more example that brings this principle into sharp focus. Success Magazine recently profiled several high growth startups founded or co founded by Black women between 2019 and 2024, including wellness brand founder Jasmine Carter, in sectors ranging from health tech to education platforms. Jasmine faced skepticism around her leadership abilities due solely to gender and race bias. She struggled to attract early stage investment despite strong traction metrics compared to less diverse competitors. Her response was both strategic and revolutionary. Rather than trying to fit into existing systems, she prioritized hiring diverse teams across gender, race, and background. She leveraged social media storytelling campaigns that spotlighted team diversity as a competitive advantage when courting investors and customers alike. The results were remarkable. Her startup saw higher than average ROI versus sector peers, a trend reflected broadly across female led startups, according to industry data. She secured major retail distribution deals within 2 years post launch and expanded her team size threefold while maintaining inclusive culture metrics above industry benchmarks. But perhaps most significantly, she helped normalize the expectation that high performing teams should be intentionally diverse, not incidentally so, which has begun influencing investor diligence processes industry wide. Jasmine grew up seeing few role models who looked like her leading companies, but was inspired after attending local entrepreneurship summits featuring successful female founders sharing transparent stories about their journeys through adversity. Now she's become that role model for others, completing a virtuous cycle of representation and inspiration. This is the essence of what Donay Stringfellow shared with me, the power of building bridges rather than simply breaking barriers. It's about creating sustainable ecosystems that enable collective advancement. So, what does this mean for you? How can you apply these principles in your own context? The challenge before us is clear but profound. What if we measured success not by how high we climb, but by how many people we bring with us? What if the true measure of achievement isn't breaking through barriers, but building bridges that make those barriers irrelevant for those who follow? I invite you today to make a radical shift in how you think about your own success. Ask yourself, who am I bringing along? What doors am I not just walking through, but propping open? How am I transforming my individual achievements into collective advancement? This isn't just about altruism, though that would be reason enough. It's about creating more sustainable, innovative, and resilient systems that benefit everyone, including ourselves. When we build ecosystems instead of pedestals, we create foundations that can support far more weight than any individual can bear alone. Tomorrow, take one concrete step toward building a bridge. Mentor someone who doesn't look like the traditional image of success in your field. Invest in a venture that might not have perfect metrics, but has transformative potential. Share your resources, your networks, your knowledge with someone who has been systematically excluded, because the most revolutionary act isn't succeeding despite the system, it's transforming the system itself. It's not about breaking glass ceilings. It's about building new structures altogether where ceilings don't exist. As Donay so powerfully articulated, when we build bridges instead of just breaking barriers, we don't just change individual trajectories, we change the landscape itself. The future belongs to the bridge builders. Will you be one of them? Thank you.